Chapter 1, Possession. There's a war going on outside no man is safe from. You can run, but you can't hide forever. Mobb Deep. If you can continue this sentence, then the odds are we have a lot in common. Grew up in a certain era, part of a similar culture that saw the world from a particular perspective. If you can't finish the sentence, then it might be worth checking it out. This book has been in the making for more than a decade, drafted how many times I've lost count. The body of work has always been there though. The problem has been growing into the person that can put this together in the way that it should be packaged and delivered. Finally finding the title made it so much easier. That one line, there's a war going on outside, embodies everything that I've been fighting to understand myself and to get across. The line embodies a conversation I have had a million different times, in a million different ways, with a million different people, in a million different contexts. The inception of realization came after one of many conversations with my nephew. He mentioned that he loves our chats, and it just so happens that whenever he feels unsure about something in life or is straying off the path, that I'm the guy that pulls him back in line. I absolutely love hearing that. I'm actually on the right path and potentially somehow doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. Little does he know that it works both ways, and as much as I try to impart what little wisdom I have on him, he also inspires me in ways he cannot imagine. Asking me a simple question is just a fact that I try to find the answer to his question, answers a question I've been asking myself for too long now. The topic of conversation that brought this about was, what was my take on possession and whether or not I thought it was real. I told him that I 100% believed that possession was real, and drawing on past experience, I had seen this and do see this happening to people firsthand. I went a bit deeper into it and talked about the causes of things of this nature, how to be aware of them, and how to prevent possession and influence. As this conversation went on, we went on to how obvious it was in music, film, celebrities, and people in the public eye. He then brought up the song by Mobb Deep, Survival of the Fittest. It was fitting the title of the track, but it was the first line of the song that hit the nail on the head, depending on how you listen to the words and how you hear them. I took the first line of the song as a spiritual statement and not necessarily a statement from the person speaking the words, but the spirit using the voice of a person to relay its message. We both tried to analyze it further to make sense of the underlying message and whether it was coming from a good or bad place. In the end, though, I take it exactly for what I believe it to be, a non-biased statement that straddles both good and bad, but leaves the listener with the message of be aware of which side you choose to take. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6:12. The idea of possession is a strange one, especially if you're not from a religious or spiritual background. The thought that anyone or thing other than yourself could possibly take control of your being. Drawing from my experience as I look back over various situations and experiences, I'm a firm believer that this is the case and a fact as far as I'm concerned. All or most religious books would be a good reference to this fact, but the most compelling I've come across would be the Book of Enoch and the Law of One. They really go in depth into the mechanics of this world, fallen angels, their offspring, what became of them, and how they relate to us today. Back to what makes me believe this is all true. Whilst growing up, I always believed in God. Now, I'm not sure if this is because God, through religion, had been programmed into my being by the previous generation, or whether my belief has come about naturally. More so than just believing in God or following in any particular religion, I've always believed in how I feel and knowing what was right and what was wrong. I've always known that making sure you uplifted everyone you encountered or do right by everyone you meet was the way to be. Obviously, it took a lot longer to understand that this was actually the rule, and that treating people great while you were feeling great didn't mean that you treated people bad when you were feeling bad. The next step would be to make sure I was always in control of my emotions, aware of my feelings, how I saw and treated myself, how I saw and treated other people, and that I wasn't straying from the path. Never in a million years would I have thought that you could attract or be influenced by anything other than yourself. For people that don't believe in the existence of God or supreme power, it might be even harder, I suppose. The most common things you do find across all faiths, people, races, and cultures, regardless of a belief in God, is a belief in evil, or a belief in things that go bump in the night. Call them what you may, ghosts, poltergeists, spirits, demons, jinn, etc. There is a commonly held belief or understanding throughout all civilizations that the paranormal does exist. I will just go one step further now and say that I do believe they can influence and control people, and people can influence and control them also. In the olden days, people versed in this would be seen as sages, wizards, witches, witch doctors, shamans, druids, elders, etc. The thing is, in this day and age, the average person would like to believe that these kinds of people no longer exist. I am more of the understanding that they are still here. They just handle their business behind closed doors, be it in plain sight. They summon, control, and do deals with these entities and have laws and rules of engagement. To the uninitiated, this is a fairy tale or Hollywood movie, but to someone consciously aware, as I would like to think I am, you see this happening every day in person, in the media, and constantly flaunted through signs, symbols, songs, film, architecture, you name it. The only way this world could ever make any sense is if you could actually understand that the devil, evil, is real. And know that even though it is in spirit, it can only actually attack or influence in the flesh or in or through human form. The devil or evil actually has no power and cannot control anybody without it first being invited. Once invited, though, the host is exactly that, a vessel the spirit can use to carry out its will. In simple terms, it works like your moods. When happy, you vibrate in the positive, and when sad, in the negative. I explained this best to one of the kids as a life bar on Street Fighter. The aim of the game is to maintain your life bar and try not to lose any of your life force and try to top it up if or whenever depleted. The thing is that the power bar doesn't end when it runs out, like the computer game. But in real life, it goes across into the negative life bar. Now, as you cross into the negative life bar, the spirits get closer, clearer, become louder, stronger, and your self-control, immunity weakens even faster. Not saying that negative influence or spirits are not always there, because they are. Have always been and will always be from the day you're born. That is a war going on outside, and their goal is to feed off of your life force and get you as far in the negative as they can and keep you there. Examples of people potentially in the furthest end of the negative life bar, knowingly and unknowingly, would be a drug addict, junkie on the streets with no concept of the spirit remaining, and doing all forms of evil to destroy their spirit further to remain in the state that they are in. The drug dealer who out of pure greed overlooks the damage done to the addict, their families, the community, and profiting off of this. The pedophile that breaks the spirits of innocent children while feeding the forces that possess them. A psychopathic murderer that kills people for no understandable or logical reason. A paranoid schizophrenic that has openly been contacted in communication with entities unknown. And the financial institutions, government, religion, media, entertainment, etc., in league with such entities that maintain this current matrix in which we live, to name a few. A lot of people literally wake up one morning and find themselves at the border of their positive and negative life bar, with no awareness of where they are or what has brought them to this junction. Some live permanently on the border, crossing back and forth like migrant workers on the US-Mexico border. There are people in different levels of being consciously aware. Saying that might ring a bell would be different level, different devil. Because with every level you lose or gain in life's journey, the level of opposition will always get greater or different in some way. The good thing, though, is that with every hardship or devil you overcome, you gain more power, wisdom, strength, resilience, patience, humility, etc. Which then becomes even harder for them to try to take away from you. Negative music will get louder, clearer, and more entrancing as you cross into the negative. Junk food tasting so much better, sex, drugs, and alcohol, depending on your vices, more appealing. Your behavior and character might start openly showing change. Little bad habits that you once overlooked, like greed or gluttony, for example, depending on the vices again, that have been compounded up to this point, will manifest faster and stronger. In the case of gluttony, you might observe a person become more obese as they lose self-control and give in to their urges to eat more food that's not good for them, or spend more on what they eat than on their health or personal development. In the case of greed, a person might become even more selfish and get greater satisfaction from gaining financially, in most cases, from others, and doing whatever it takes to outdo their fellow man. You would then be even more susceptible to bad influence, again only subtly and barely recognizable to yourself, as it would have been compounding already up to this point. But to those more aware looking in, it would be very obvious. In the case of vanity, a medium like social media, for example, would be greatly appealing as the vanity grows stronger, looking outside of themselves for more gratification and meaning. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Usual suspects. The current matrix we live in is designed in such a way that we pay as little attention as possible to our life force and just enjoy life as much as we want or can. I don't for a minute think that this is something new. I have a feeling that things are exactly as they've always been, psychologically, spiritually, and physically. Obviously, civilizations of old had different ways of doing things, but I think the human psyche has not changed at all. Apart from the Romans or Egyptians wearing sandals and skirts, horse and carriage, wind sails, etc., the ruling class and their tactics of controlling the sheep has pretty much stayed the same. The fact that the teachings of Marcus Aurelius or Sun Tzu have some relevance today, or that there is literature from antiquity that can be practically used today, says it all. The devil or evil has always been in the shadows, orchestrating, directing the play from city to city, from civilization to civilization, up to the present day. One thing that has stood the test of time, regardless of faith or culture, that lets you know that human beings have not changed one bit, is the fact that people have always summoned spirits to try and see their future and the past. The ancient Greeks had oracles, and we now have countless fortune tellers. Just take a look in your local newspaper. The idea of a person consistently living at the highest positive end of their life force, I think, will be an avatar like Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad, Buddha, Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, or people of that nature. Living selflessly for other people and using their power and influence for positivity. I don't for a minute think that this is an easily achievable task. I do believe, though, that we all come in the world at the highest positive end of our life force. It all comes down to how soon you get to learn and apply the rules.